Good evening, everyone, and a very warm welcome to the Wednesday for the launch of Everyone I've Never Met, a collection of poems by Machynlleth's very own bard, Lottie Cook. I feel very honoured to have been asked to start proceedings tonight, but in case you're wondering who I am, I'm Chris and I'm Lottie's piano teacher. For my sins. And if you've ever read her second murder mystery, Silence Speaks 1,000 Words, you may recognise me as, and I quote, top of page 67, the very eccentric music teacher who likes to spoonerise words. Or if you prefer, to woonerise spurds. So, the moral of that little tale, if you don't want to end up in her next book, be very careful what you say to Cotty Look. Now, the evening's going to be in 2 parts, each lasting about half an hour, and there'll be an interval of 20 minutes, and I've been asked to draw to your attention that you would be very welcome to go to the bar and buy yourself a drink. I'm sure you know the way there. Lottie, wherever you are, I think she might have done a runner. Wherever you are, I've got one last word of advice. The stage may only be 6 inches high, but do be careful as you walk on and try not to fall over. Ladies and gentlemen, please give a very warm welcome to a remarkable young lady, Lottie Cook.
Hi, welcome. Thank you, Mr. Dendy, for that wonderful introduction. Before we get started on some of the poems, I just wanted to talk a bit about the book itself and what inspired me to write it. So I've always loved reading, and what came from that is a love for writing as well. And about 3 years ago, and I actually realised while getting ready that this room is actually quite special, because about 3 years ago I volunteered and helped out with the literacy festival here, and it was after that I went home and started writing my first book. And so yeah, I wrote that, and then I wrote another one which is called Killing Gwen Crawford, which some of you might know is my first book I published. And then since then I've written 3 others, I think. So the most recent was called, If Walls Could Talk. And I finished that start of this year, sort of, and then it was sort of being edited in the first few months of the year. But I was also sitting my GCSE exams this year, and so I spent the time revising as it was being edited, and then as my exams came to actually be real, I needed to think of a new idea for my next book. And I actually remember I was in the biology room, in a biology exam, and I had loads of time left over after, and I was trying to think of new ideas. But I also started thinking about the room I was in, and about how many people had sat exams in that room before me, and about how cool it is that there are all these people that we've never met who live like us or completely different to us, and about how we'll never meet them. And I thought that would be a really cool concept for a book. But with my books before, I'd sort of thought about a plot rather than a concept, but for this one I came up with a concept, but I wasn't sure how to make a plot for it and what would it be, how would I do it really. And then I went to the Hay Festival, which you will hear a bit more about later, and I went to various different poetry events, because over the last year I've sort of really gotten into reading poetry, but I never thought it could be something I could write, because I think we think of poetry as something quite fancy and hard to write basically. But so I attended a talk or a reading by a poet called Holly McNish, who is amazing. She's one of my biggest inspirations, and she inspired me to start writing poetry. And then I sort of connected the ideas of writing poetry and this concept of people I've never met, and I came up with this book. And so yeah, I wrote it over this summer, where I did a lot of different things. And so to get my book, I'm going to read the first one. You're going to hear a lot of different voices tonight from my family and friends reading out. But I'm going to start with the first book I wrote, which, again, when I was getting ready, I realised that another reason why this room is special, that I completely forgot about. But I came to an open mic here a few months ago, and there was a lady who read poetry, and she had a poem about Rag and Bone Antique Shop, and it really made me think about it. And I realised I had a memory from there quite fond. And so I wrote a poem about that memory, and it's now in this book. It's the first one in this book, so I thought it was quite fitting to read it out tonight. And it's the only poem in this book that is sort of based on like an old experience I had rather than something quite recent. So I think I was about 7 at the time, and my mum and dad had a cafe called The Rendezvous, which is just across the street, which is actually called Cafe Chakra now, and I work there, funny enough. It's quite a special building, which is a few doors down from the Rag and Bone Antique Shop. And yeah, I don't know how, there you go. So this one is called A Red Toy Car. A red toy car, a simple trade. One full English breakfast for a red toy car. A red toy car, the perfect racer. Electric crimson like the seeds of a pomegranate. Monstrous mousy wheels. The clunking of plastic as I picked it up, begging aimlessly for it. God, did I beg for it. An ornament for my butterfly palace. My parents shook their heads. They looked out through the stormy window, thick tears staining the cracked pavements. They told me to leave it on the shelf. They told me I didn't need it, and so I left with destitute hands. Days passed and the red car haunted my dreams. The perfect place on the shelf laid empty. The dusted wood screamed for the feeling of wheels resting on its surface. Walking home from school, I looked through the window of the old, dusty, smelly antique shop. Misery blew through my bones as the car had vanished. Tears prickled my eyes. That was my car. To my home I returned, a hideous scowl plastered on my beautifully young face. My parents beamed brightly, a gift hidden behind their back, as they revealed the treasure from behind. Once a stranger's, someone I've never met, this toy car is now mine. A trade, my father explained. One full English breakfast for the red toy car. Sausage, bacon, beans a lot, cooked to perfection for the perfect red toy car. There we go. So, this next one is about a time I was on a bus on the way to Aberystwyth with my friend Caddy, and there was a man who was sitting in front of us on this bus, and he was quite dishevelled, and I noticed he had a quite familiar trait that I was very interested in. So to read this is my nanny, who is the first person that usually reads my books, and is supposed to edit them, but as some of you might know if you read them, she's not great at spotting those mistakes. So, Nanny.
Thank you, Lottie. And this is called A Faith So Strong. Shall I move that? A Faith So Strong. Christ is in your bag and you have handwriting just like my 9. As I peer over the bus seat whilst you reach into your derelict bag and pull out a little red Bible. The Bible, like the bag, has seen better days, with ripped pages and torn pages screaming, showing me its use, showing me your faith so strong. And you open a page and a note falls out. What does it say? I can't read it. You're too far away, and I realise I'm far too nosy. But you have handwriting just like my 9, a familiar scribble, comforting like a card on Christmas Day.
Right, just a warning, this one is quite a sad one. But it's one of the few poems in this book that sort of isn't about a specific event or a specific person I've seen. Well, it's rather a concept. It's quite a strange concept, really, but it's something, whilst writing this collection, I really was thinking about people I've never met and people I will never meet. And this was one of the thoughts I had. So Grace is going to read this, my brother's fiance, who has always been very, very supportive of everything I do. So.
Okay. don't make me cry, I haven't read it yet. I'll just move that there. Okay. When I die, the final touch to encounter my delicate skin. The skin touched by everyone I have ever loved. One day, a stranger will put me in a box, and I will never use my eyes to glance at them dearly, but they will lay me to rest. Tighten the screws as I am protected from the world. Their touch will be the last. Strange, I will never know them. I'll never know their favourite colour, or what they like to do on the weekend, what their favourite subject was in school, and what was their dream. They will never really know me. They won't know that I'm scared of moths, yet butterflies are my favourite animal. And they won't know the way my eyes shine when I attempt to lie. They won't know that I dreamt of being an actress before I was told to be more realistic. And they won't know the songs me and my best friend made up when we were young children. The last human touch I will ever receive will most likely be from a total stranger.
Well done,
So, me and my nanny have always said that we wanted to go see Stevie Nicks in concert. And
You'll have to text Trisha, will you?
so, yeah, we always said we wanted to see her when she came to the UK. But unfortunately, she came to the UK a few months ago and we were both out of the country. So we did the only logical thing and we flew to Amsterdam to go and see her. And it was just amazing because I'd always wanted to see Stevie Nicks and I'd always wanted to go to Amsterdam, so it was like perfect. And so whilst being there, we also got 2 full days in the city. And it was just a really beautiful place. But the one thing I remember I said I wanted to do was I wanted to take a boat trip on the canals. And so we did. And on the trip we went on, we had like headphones that you plugged into like a bit on the side of the boat. And it gave you information about like historic facts about places you were passing, or just pointed out some things that you might want to look at, which included a row of houses which are called the dancing houses. So my cousin Kirsty is going to read this one, who is a dancer herself and a dance teacher. So I thought it was quite fitting for her to read this one.
This one's called The Dancing Houses. Who lives in the houses that dance on the canals of Amsterdam, brick sculpted, bending towards the water, begging for coldness on a cloudless afternoon, standing tall into the sapphire sky, searching high, watching as the world goes by. So unconventional in their beauty, as they sway, they move and feel the air. As they dance, enjoying every moment, and as the earth moves, they join it. They move with the earth, they dance.
For the last sort of 9 years, I've been having piano lessons with Mr. Dendy, who introduced me earlier. And I think if you are a pupil of Mr. Dendy's, or you just know him, you'll know that he has 2 very, very cute cats. And I remember once I was attending one of my weekly lessons, and like, this is going to sound so strange, but in the most normal way, it really made me think about like how easy life is if you are a cat, and like just how easy cats live. And so I wrote a poem about it. It's quite a silly one, but Auntie Gemma's going to read this one, who is a person that reads my books after Nanny has edited them, and finds all the mistakes. So, Auntie Gemma.
If that were me. Oh, to be a cat, trotting along gently across paths that aren't yours, purring, gliding on the grass you did not grow, watching work done for your food, a day in the sun, relaxation. Oh, to be a cat with no responsibilities, with no one to meet, the choice to lie in the sun in everyone's way. But oh, she's adorable, they say as the cat is lazy. They sure wouldn't have the same reaction if that cat were me.
So, as both a writer and a book lover, wherever I go, I somehow seem to fall into bookshops. accidentally. And so I don't actually know where this poem was written about specifically, but I think it's dedicated to all bookshops. And I forgot I was reading the next one, so if you bear with me, I'll just try and find it in here somewhere. No, that's not it. Sorry. It's not it either.
74.
Thanks. I don't have the thing up here with me. There we go, found it. So this one's called Dead Trees. Your hands grace the novel I place down on the dusted shelf, and the doorbell chimes, with a new person entering the written walls. Bookcases high in the air, so high the birds may crash, squeezing past, moulding my body into the gap, as you're careful not to drop the novel in your hands. And the bookshop owner sneezes. I look around, collected in unity, for a love of scribbles on pages, and the smell of dead trees lingering in the shop, bouncing off the written walls. So, as I briefly mentioned earlier, I attend the Hay Festival sort of every year. And I think if you've been there, you'll know it's a very, very inspiring place where creativity, animation is highly encouraged. And so I've been going every year for quite some time now, I don't know really how long, with my nanny and Dabby. And every year we go, we camp in their camper van. And we stay in this campsite that's just across the road from the festival site, but it's quite a walk into the city of Hay-on-Wye. And so one day when we were there this year, we were walking into the town, and there's a bit of a hill you have to go up until you get there. So we were just walking up that hill where we witnessed a conversation between a young boy and his mother, which I thought was very cute. And so Dabby's going to read this one, which makes sense as he was there when this happened. So.
Stabilisers. A remark made by a mother. You're still using stabilisers. As a young boy cycles past, a helmet attached to the head, like a pink bow on a little girl's scalp. The boy's wheels carry him away, disappearing up the hill. A wide grin spread across his young, innocent face, leaving a younger boy in deep conversation with his mother. Jealousy fills the boy. From the head to toe it lingers, through his blood, his growing bones. How unfair to be denied the enjoyable experience you long for, all because you're using stabilisers. So what? The boy needs a bit of help. Let him have fun. Let him live. Throw him in the deep end, hold his hands tight. Place a bow on his small head as it fills with pure joy. Let him ride up the hill with his stabilisers attached to his bright lime bike. He needs assistance, sure, but how will he learn if he doesn't ride up the hill?
So another place I went this year was Cornwall, this summer, and me and my family, we stayed in this really lovely home in a place called Mount Zion, which is about 3 miles out of Penzance. And for some reason, one day, when I say we, I mean the adults, decided we would walk into Penzance. And I hated every minute of it. So when we finally arrived there, we were all very hungry and tired, so we just wanted somewhere to eat. And we were walking to find a cafe or something, and something quite unfortunate happened. And so my younger cousin Ruby is going to read this one, who was with me in Cornwall when this happened. So, Ruby?
The day you never went home, the sea breeze waves my hair as the salt rests on my lips. The harbour called to me, a hot chocolate with mysterious view of deep unknown seas. Pink rocks on my feet as I reach for comfort, admiring beautiful architecture, colourful houses and colourless walls. And then I hear it, and it sends a cold shiver down my spine. I'm too distracted to look down beneath my feet as I leave your dying soul on the floor, as that crunch of your home, your shell, your safe place. It destroys by the weight of my feet. And I think about your family, how they will wait for you to return, and you'll never go home.
This is the final one before we have a 20-minute break. So, yet another place I was lucky enough to go this year was New York City. I went on a school trip and it was an amazing experience being there with my friends. And on the last night of the trip, we went to watch a Broadway musical, and it was a musical called Hell's Kitchen, which is an amazing jukebox musical with songs by Alicia Keys loosely based on her life. And whilst we were walking back from to the hotel that night, I saw something that I thought was quite empowering. And so I'm going to read this one, and this one is called Broadway. Walking your dog at 11 p.m. as we walk home from Broadway. A song blasting through our ears, and you walk your dog. White fur, brown patches, bright lights, they continue. We are a herd, a collection of young minds, both brave and fearful, together apprehensive of the life of the dark new night. You walk your dog. A lack of fear as sun vanishes, as moon grows luminous. You do not fear the night, you walk your dog. Strangers pass by and familiar noses and teeth, both friendly and dangerous. Their intentions unclear by their skin, by the wrinkles beneath their eyes and the freckles on their cheeks. Powerful it is to walk your dog as we walk home from Broadway, to not allow the absence of light shy you away into your home. To be alive in New York City at 11 p.m, to walk your dog as we walk home from Broadway. So, I'm going to have a short break now, so I'll see you in about 20 minutes. As Mr. Dendy said, you're welcome to go buy a drink from the bar, but I'll see you in 20 minutes.
Hello? There we go. It's working. Welcome back. It's nice of you all to come back. We're going to jump straight in. So this is another poem written about an experience from Cornwall. Kind of. So there was this really lovely house near us, which had a beautiful garden and some really very lovely marigolds. And then, so I saw this really beautiful house, and then I went back that night to the home, and I was watching the news and just really shocked at the state of the world. And I know although a lot of us are trying to do our best, it really made me think, are we doing enough? So Nanny's going to read this one.
Thank you. Marigolds. The marigolds are dying as the news flickers. From war sites to murder, elections, and the world is burning. The ice vanishes with every day, home fading alongside. The bombs are being dropped on innocents. A loving family without faces, a house without walls, and the world is to blame. We are to blame. And it won't stop, the world spins, and the activists with lampposts on their fingers try to catch it, but it slides away. And the people with the power, with the pens in their hands, sit and chatter, close their eyes to the horrors. But the marigolds are beautiful. What a shame to see them go. And in years to come we will say we tried. But we will argue silently that we sat and watched.
So this is quite another sad one, but I promise this book is mainly filled with happy ones. It's just unfortunate that two sad ones were chosen to pick tonight. But I try and introduce these poems in a cryptic way, so I don't give away too much, so the poem can speak for itself. But I don't know how to do the introduction for this without really telling you what it's about. So I'm just going to hand over to my good friend Ffion, who has designed the covers for my 4 previous books, But with this one, she illustrated the poems, and if you have bought a copy or are going to buy a copy, you will say they are amazing. She's so talented. So, Ffion.
Carcass. The remnants of your wings still flap as cars power over your tortured carcass. And you once lived whilst you once breathed, you once soared high in the sky, leaving troubles behind you as you flapped your delicate wings and navigated through the wind, rain, through the beautifully bright skies. Now, unrecognisable, damaged beyond repair, as your soft face will never shift, will never be the same, as mud-covered tyres will charge over you, unforgiving. What's left of you is fur and white feathers, nothing memorable. You're like the rest now, you're dead.
So I have no idea where this next poem is based on. I saw something quite really interesting, but also quite horrific whilst I was driving somewhere, and I found while writing this, I would be walking down the street or driving somewhere, and I'd like see something, I'd be like, oh, I need to write a poem about that, but wouldn't have the time, so I'd just write a few notes in my phone, and then I'd go back that night, and I'd write a full poem. So I just found myself with loads of like 2-line poems in my phone notes. And this is one of them. So I think it was on the way back from Cornwall, but if you've taken the journey from Cornwall to here, you'll know it is horribly long and everything just turned into a blur. So I'm not 100% sure. But this one is called The Broken Half. Driving quickly down the winding road as half a house stands still, with the world going by around it, stationary, empty. From one side, pure perfection, a house, a home, a place to live, white walls, the life of a family of dreams and nightmares, but distance reveals the story, the broken half. Imagining the embers as they crash down deep into the land, sculpted wood, smoke sent high up into the sky like clouds of morbidity. As the walls screech, they reach out wide for help. Once white, now they fall to the ground, and the family live on with the fear of burning fire. So one thing about me is that I love cowboy boots. I wore them to prom, I wear them to every concert I go to, I wear them to any occasion, as you can tell now, I'm actually wearing them now. They are starting to break, which I realised as I was putting them on to come here, which is really sad. But I will genuinely find any excuse to wear them. And so when I went to Amsterdam, I squeezed them into my tiny hand luggage in the hopes of wearing them to see Stevie Nicks. But unfortunately, I made the decision to wear them in the day that we were seeing her, and I was prepared to do a lot of walking anyways, but so a 20-minute walk ended up taking us about 3 hours. And I remember we had like Google Maps on the phone, and it was 20 minutes, and I turned to Nanny and I looked, and within 10 minutes it had changed to a 54-minute walk. So by the time we got back to the hotel, my feet were aching so much, and I just needed something to relieve the pain. So we went to the supermarket next door to our hotel, and we got this big bag of ice, and we emptied the bin in the hotel, and we put the ice in the bin, and we just stood there with our feet in the bin for about an hour before we went to the concert. But anyways, during the time in this day that I was wearing these boots, I noticed a woman staring at me quite aggressively, and the stare was directed towards my boots. And so I wrote a poem about what I think she might have been thinking, and so Nanny's going to read this one.
I'd just like to say I didn't know that the arrow in Google Maps was showing the way that you were going. I didn't know that. It's not obvious. Cowboy boots, staring at me as if the horses are following besides me, their saddles wide and great, cardinal red, as if the gun rests serenely in my hand, ready to fire and destruct, never to shoot first. As if I'm prepared to never go back on my word, and to never let a lie escape my dry mouth. As if a round hat with a curved rim sits on my head, protecting my scalp like a crown. As if filthy jeans cover my legs, a barrier between me and my horse's back. As if a dirty flannel shirt protects my modesty. As if I'm prepared to attend a rodeo tonight before I took myself into a barn.
So, as I mentioned earlier, I work in a fantastic cafe in town called Cafe Chakra. And while working there, I think we see many customers. I'm looking over there because my bosses are sat over there. Just put a shout out. And I think the customers that come in and they go, and we forget about most of them. But there are some that stand out for good and bad reasons. But in the summer, there was these 2 young boys who stood out to me for a really positive reason. So I wrote a poem about it, and so Dabby's going to read this one.
This is Have a Good Day. You chime as you sit away from your parents with hot chocolate in Americano cups, placed neatly by my careful hands on the table in front. As the sun shines on the pavement and I can feel my legs boiling. There is a youthful glint in your kindness. Hope. You are the children we need. The children that should be raised and celebrated for your kindness. It shall always grow beside you like a wild oak tree.
So I'm going to be completely honest with you all. This next poem doesn't make total sense because it was, again, like a concept of someone I've never met. And so I wrote it. I think I wrote it on the plane to New York because I was just trying to pass time. And when rehearsing for this event, Dabby pointed out something in that this poem is about people that lived in your bedroom before you. And I forgot that my brother was in my bedroom before me. And so I do know what it looked like, and I do know what he is like. So it doesn't really make sense in that aspect, but I think now I've realised, well, you can think back to people like before him, or if you guys want to think about the people who lived in your bedrooms before you. So Dabby's also going to read this next one for you all.
Writing on the walls. My room has 4 walls and a roof, but so does yours. My room has a bed and a wardrobe, mirror and drawers. Probably so does yours. But my room has my bookcases, a skeleton of everything I ever loved, and posters, trophies of everything I ever loved, train tickets, boarding passes, my love for travel. Attached to flaking walls with blue tack, frames, reminders of everyone I ever loved, friends, families, lover, like guardian angels. My room is full, possessions from everywhere I've been, a hoarder by nature, a napkin from the restaurant I hated, shampoo from a hotel I spent one night in, a strong reminder that there is life outside my room. I often wonder what is written in the walls. What did my bedroom look like before it was mine? Did the person who slept there before me collect things like I do? Did they hang posters on the walls? Did they read and write like I do? Were they anything like me?
So this is yet another Amsterdam one. I think I was just really inspired in Amsterdam because it was such a lovely place. But we visited the Reich Museum. I don't know if I'm saying that right. I've been like panicking all night about pronouncing that word. But which is a museum in Amsterdam which has a lot of Dutch history and artwork and sculptures and all sorts. And it's just a beautiful building in itself. And so to get from one, so there was like 2 sides of galleries, and to get from one side to the other, you had to walk through this like massive, really beautiful hall. And I was walking through this hall and I noticed this bench where people could like sit down, take a break. And I noticed quite a sad sight there. And I wrote a poem about it. So, this one is called Oxygen. Everyone stares at their phones as they take a break from history, sitting down on a stone-cold bench in the great decorative hall. Centuries-old stained glass windows, depictions of an ancient religion still deep in the hearts of the population. Yet, the oxygen of the new generation overcomes them, like a wave of fresh blood. But you, with your lived life away from technology, admire the world. Admire the history of the world. Admire the people passing by that you will never meet, rather than seeing what that distant star ate for lunch today. And this is yet another one about Amsterdam, and again about the Rijk Museum. And this was, as we were leaving, we sort of sat down on these like marble, really cold stairs to sort of plan where we were going next. And it was there we saw a really lovely exchange between a little boy and his dad. So Ruby's going to read this one.
Thick, colourful crayons guide your tiny fingers as you and your father scribbled on a sketch pad, sitting on a cold marble floor of a grand museum. History since the beginning of time. Paintings painted before the sun rose, paintings painted before life as we know it came too quickly in existence. And the frames are elegant, like the sculptures' walls of the historical buildings. And I stared down at your sketch pad, and the lines drawn so messily. It's new, it's fresh, it's real. Yours is my favourite image here.
So this second half has actually gone by really quick. So we have one poem left, but before I read that out to you all, I just wanted to say some thank yous, some acknowledgements. So I know, although obviously the core of this book lies with the people I've never met, it really would not have been possible without the people I have met and support me in everything I do, whether it's my writing or just in general. From my friends to my family, nothing at all would be possible without you all. I'm also very, very lucky to be surrounded by some very talented friends. So I want to say a special thank you to my friend Alice, who drew the cover for me. As you can see here, it's based actually off a photo I took in Amsterdam. There's a lot of Amsterdam talk tonight, but yeah, it's based off a photo I took that she drew. And of course, a very big thank you to Ffion for doing the illustrations. That I know I'm repeating what I said earlier, but they are so amazing. So, you know, please look at them when you buy a copy because she's so talented. And also, I just wanted to say how thankful I am really for everything I experienced this summer that allowed me to, well, not meet so many people that I could write about. You know, New York, Amsterdam, Cornwall, just living and roaming the world, roaming England, Wales, and experiencing things. It was just amazing. And of course, to those who inspire me, you know, with my writing, Sylvia Plath and Holly McNish, to name my favourite poets who really inspired me to put pen to paper. And of course, I wanted to thank Nanny, Grace, Dabby, Ruby, Auntie Gemma, Kirsty, and Ffion for reading out poems today. I know it takes a lot, so you're very brave. Thank you very much. And of course, I think I need to thank the people I've never met that are, you know, in this book, that don't know. They're walking around now not knowing that I have written a poem about them, and I'm reading out to you all. And of course, I want to thank all of you for showing up tonight and making it so special. It's the first time I've ever done anything like this. So yeah, massive thank you for showing up. I also just want to say I will be signing books after. So I know some of you might have pre-ordered a copy that you've already collected or need to collect. I'll be sat over there with my mum, who will be sorting out the pre-orders, because that's who thing. And otherwise, it is now officially available on Amazon in paperback and Kindle edition. Some of you might have noticed on your chairs as you came in, I've got a piece of paper with the QR codes and a little summary of each book. Thanks to James for the idea of doing that. So if you were interested in buying any of my other books, they're all available in paperback and Kindle. And some of them, I don't think all of them are available in hardback. But yeah, I'm also open to chatting, answering any questions, any feedback when you come over to sign. Really come over and have a chat, even if you're not going to buy a copy. I really won't be offended, don't worry. I do have, I think, is it 7? Yeah, 7 spare copies if you haven't pre-ordered or haven't got one yet. So yeah, and of course, thank you to Mr. Dendy for the very lovely introduction. Thank you. So, the final poem of the night, I'll just have to find it. But this is another one that I wrote about New York. It deals with quite a heavy topic, so I think homelessness is something that is, a huge problem everywhere. But I think we especially see it when we go to big cities such as New York. And I remember it was just after my first night there, I just hadn't realised how much homeless people there would be, and it really made me quite emotional, but also at the same time thankful for what I had. That I'm so lucky to have something like a roof over my head and food, and that I think sometimes we take it for granted. And so this one is called Just Another Night. To me, it's a Monday night, and I'm walking the streets of Manhattan, jet-lagged as my skin burns, slowly ignited, blooming crimson. Dollars in my purse, pounds in my bank account, and euros waiting in my desk at home. For you, it's night. A lost, outdated calendar, losing track of hours, of dates, the ball dropping in Times Square, indicating a new year creeping. Breeze on cold shoulders, screaming for warmth, for a home. Every day plays the same beg, the same empty pot of money, thin metal in a plastic cup. These dollars mean nothing to me, worthless on my land, turf where familiar flowers sprout from beneath, and a dialect softly spoken like my own. But to those who lay on the glowing streets of the city, these dollars mean life. I drop what I can into your life, but we as mankind close our hearts, a valve pumping for only our benefit. We are God's selfish creations, as we let these people live and die on our streets. As you walk down the street, a home, a full stomach, no more do you need, give. And as the men in fancy chairs and suits worth more than my own home dictate the lives of so many and throw them off the street into death, we must all remember all men are equal. Some are just more equal than others. Thank you. I'll be over there.